The Councilmember Tater is away with work and will not be with us tonight. And we'll begin with a public hearing. We are here to receive public comment on the American Fork Police Department School Resource Officer Policy. Anybody that would like to make a comment, we invite you to come forward, state your name for the public record, and we'd love to hear from you. Seeing none, we'll now move into the regular session of our City Council. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have an invocation by Councilmember John, and then I will conduct the roll call. If everybody would please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, as we come before thee at this City Council meeting, we are grateful for the mush that we've received this past week, and we're grateful for the opportunity that we have to meet together as a city. We ask that thou would watch over us, that we might be able to have discussion with decorum and be courteous and kind to each other. We ask that thou would guide our thoughts and actions as we make decisions this night. And these things we pray for in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. And I'll conduct the roll call. Councilmember Hunter.
Here.
Councilmember Holly.
Here.
Councilmember John.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Okay, item for item number 2, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to invite to come up here, Cassandra, your staff, your board, anybody associated with our library, if you would come up, please. Okay, if you've checked out a book, please come up. I'm just. It's nice to be surrounded by wonderful people. Last year, our wonderful library was recognized for outstanding service to the community with the Quality Library Award. This marks the 5th year in a row that they have received this award. I would also like to point out that we have won this award every year since Cassandra first became our library director. While she will be the first to say that it's a team effort, I still want to thank her personally for all that she has done. The Quality Library Award is awarded by the Utah State Library Division each year to recognize libraries and the dedicated people who work in them who are offering exemplary work in their communities. As a quality library, the American Fork Library is an active, involved, and vital part of the community. It provides resources and services beyond the 4 walls of the library with outstanding outreach to our residents. Our library demonstrates an awareness of community needs with appropriate and helpful ways that address those needs. On behalf of myself, the City Council, city staff, and our community, I want to express our gratitude to Cassandra, her staff, and her board for their unwavering commitment to delivering exceptional library services to the residents of American Fork. I have something I would want you to put on your desk. It's little, but it can hold down paper. Okay? I am going to put you on the spot. Can I? Did you expect that? Maybe?
Sure. Yeah.
Can you just say a few words?
Yeah.
Thank you.
As the mayor said, this is definitely a team effort, and I feel like I stand on the shoulders of a lot of other women who have gone before me as the director. It was a pleasure to celebrate our 100th anniversary and learn more about the library in American Fork and the role it has played and the way that the community has help the library to evolve. And we also couldn't do it without the support of the wonderful city council and the mayor and city administration, and we're really grateful for that. So thank you.
You know what, let's bring the whole council up. Can we do the whole council? Let's do a group photo.
I waiting for the invitation. I feel like, I mean, I clearly contributed.
Okay, well then.
I worry that our streak of 5 in a row has a risk of being short-sighted with me in the picture.
Okay, we'll now move on to item number 3 for our public comment period. Anybody that would like to address the mayor, city council, or senior staff, we invite you to come forward at this time. We would ask you to state your name for the public record and make your comments brief, about 2 minutes, if you would, please. So we'll now open it up to public comment.
Hey, I'm Brian Summers. I'm a broker and owner of Wasatch Life Realty, and I have a client whose parents passed away in a tragic accident a few years back, and they're trying to settle the estate. And the parcel that's owned by them is just north of the hospital. It's in the professional office zone, and we've been talking with the city staff a little bit about various options on things we can do there. And with the hospital the new hospital being built in Lehigh, the hospital doesn't really have, as far as I understand, any plans to expand. And when the professional office zone was originally written, it was, from my understanding, in mind with the hospital making an expansion. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to build an office building when there's residential both to the north and on either side of this parcel. The parcel is only 2.5 acres, and there's several parcels in a row there just north of the hospital that are 2.5 acres. And like I said, it's under our understanding that the city code is currently being looked at. We put together a super preliminary concept plan of a mixed use type scenario where it could be residential townhomes with office grade commercial space, which would be great for therapists, massage therapists. But the problem is that under the current zoning code, we're restricted at 4 acres to do projects like this. I can. There's other cities. There's 51 projects across the Wasatch Front that have been doing this similar type of project. There's one in Draper that's only on 1 acre. I think it would be a really great use of that parcel. And so I just wanted to make comment that as you revisit that code, if you could take a look at maybe lowering the limit to maybe 2 or 2.5 acres, that would really help out the family settle that estate and maybe clean up that parcel. It's looking pretty rough right now. So thank you for your time.
Okay. I know right where this parcel, this area is. Thank you for the description.
Hey, it's Steve McClary. I'm the development side of this, and so from our point of view, one of the main concerns from the development side that you guys had in talking with your staff is that you would have patches of development and not a clean development. So if you're looking at our plan, one of the things that we did is we tied development that was done in Draper that's on 0.99 acres, and we took that plan and we oriented it on their 2 acres, And what we did is we set it up so the building, and if you're aware on the development side, when you go from city to city, you can do a lot of different plans that allow you to master plan an area and orient buildings from a site plan side that it has connectivity to the other parcels around it. So our building orientation, you'll see, has the ability to where if somebody else wanted to develop on 2 acres next to them or whatever, they could connect right in. And so from the planning side, it's not really as bad as American Fork is making it. When you're saying it has to be a minimum of 4 acres, when, you know, all over the place, we're doing development in Ogden, a couple of developments on less ground than that, and being super successful. The problem is it's cost prohibitive on 2 acres for the professional office and per the current zone and stuff. So from our perspective, on the development side, we're just trying to get awareness. We've been running at this for over 2 years, a year and a half with the city, and we've passed over a ton of different plans with the administration, but we keep getting stuck. And so we would like you guys to take a look at your text and what kind of code you have there, and if we can amend something that works, that's more productive and conducive to this PO area that has all 2 acre lots. So, or 2 acre parcels, better said. So we appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I'm the lucky owner of my parents' parcel, or the one responsible. So, grew up in American Fork Caveman, John Miller, is kind of looking up who everyone is. You're all people, I haven't been here for a while. So my parents did pass away suddenly. They went off a cliff and died on the same day. So we are stuck with this property. And for a few years, it was all clean and nice and everything. We had an offer. They wanted to do medical things. We petitioned to put the whole thing as medical space, right? And then when they found out they couldn't get in from the hospital side, the restrictions AF was putting in from the north side of the road, the neighborhoods around it, everyone in there that was going in on this building backed out. So they backed out. And every single person for the next couple of years with that realtor that looked at this parcel ran into the same thing. There was just problematic because there's a road that was planned from the west side of the hospital, and there's a weird neighborhood road from the east side of Pleasant Grove. Pleasant Grove neighborhood does not want hospital traffic coming into it. The neighbors and how they've developed that other side and all these different things over the years, that road's not going to go through. It's going across people's private property. Neighbors want more residential. Nobody wants a big office space in there. So everyone we've looked at, nobody wants to touch it. And as it sits there, my brother lives there. It looks like Clampetville. It looks terrible. I kind of wish it would just burn down. But that being said, with nobody in it, of course, we're stuck, right? And so we keep looking at all these different places, and we're just asking you to look at it with a little more reasonable view. That's sticking everybody with 2.5 acres. I mean, I can go throw cows on it again, you know, and just keep it, but that doesn't do anyone good. So it's an aging community. People are all going to age out. We're looking at housing, something that's more affordable. I look at all the neighborhoods I drive by and all the fields that used to be by the freeway. There's lots of different uses, but across the road is a bunch of neighborhoods that have gone in, and it's all neighborhoods down that street. And so we're trying to fight something that fits, but we're stuck with what they said on that between 2.5 to 4 acres. We just don't have it. So as you look at the zoning, we're just asking you to kind of keep in mind, as I looked at property owners and parcels and what's available, we're stuck with not being able to do anything with our property. So we'd appreciate a good look at some of these plans. Thank you.
Man, I'm very sorry for your loss. It's tragic. Okay. All right, is there anybody else that would like to make public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment period, and we'll move on to item number 4, our city administrator's report.
Mayor, I don't have anything to report tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. All right, council reports. We'll start with Councilmember Carroll. I'm going to really switch it up tonight on you.
Okay, I'll first say that our park tax, we are having our first I don't remember what they call it, but it's a workshop where you learn about all of the different rules and regulations and things that they have to do in order to apply for projects, and that is this Thursday. I've seen advertisements for it. Thank you, City. So that's good. Hopefully we'll get some applicants there and get some good projects. The other thing is I went to my first library board meeting. It was awesome, and I'm learning so much about how libraries work. There's things, it's one thing about this job is you can never learn it all. There's more, and I'm excited to learn more about how the library runs, and being in a place with books is amazing. And that's my report.
Thank you for that report. Councilmember John.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the first official meeting of North Point Special Service District for the year. The process of looking at moving to either special district or a interlocal was tabled, at least for the first 6 months of the year, because there's no need to move. It was determined there was no need to move in that direction. We've got a lot of support from the county. Council is looking at different options that we have to make some of the at-large members to be voted members that not are at large, the cities that joined later. And we elected a new chairman and vice chairman, and for my sins, they stuck me in as vice chair. So we also elected board members to the New Era landfill project, because that's jointly owned by 4 groups, and North Point is one of those, and I'm one of the alternate board members on that also. So looks like I'll be up to my ears in garbage.
You will. Okay, thank you for that report. Councilmember Hawley.
I was able to attend my first beautification committee this past week, and they are an energetic group of people, which is very exciting because I'm also energetic. We talked about some of the events that are coming up, and so I'll go through some of those. So they're going to start library classes again. I guess they do these every spring. They have one per month, and they go through things like landscaping, types of seeds or plants that work well in Utah. So the first one will be, I believe, on 26th of February. So please come out if you want to learn more about gardening or landscaping type of things. Arbor Day will be coming up on the 25th of April. That's a Thursday, and I guess that will be at Monarch Park, the recently renamed Butterfly Park. We talked a little bit about the city garden. I guess that's something that's been talked about a little bit over the past year, a couple of years, doing some type of city or community garden. And then finally, we're looking for suggestions for Yard of the Month. That'll be coming up May through October. So looking to see if there's some beautiful yards throughout the city that we can recognize. And then the garden tour that goes on during Steel Days. They want to have anybody who wants to be a part of that. They would like to notify the committee by mid-May so that we can get that taken care of. So that's all I have.
Thank you for that report. Councilmember Hunter.
Thank you, Mayor. I was joking a lot about the library, but it's been a pleasure to serve with them for 2 years and watch them work. And Cassandra and her team are unbelievable. My family goes there probably, well, I don't know. I hate to put us up there, but I do know that we were heavily involved in the Steel Days, whatever it was called, with the scavenger hunt, and there was a lot of stuff tied in with the library. And anyway, my family absolutely loves what they put on down there, including these landscaping, all the classes that are done. The sheer amount of programming that's done with the library is astounding, and Cassandra and her team are to be commended for that. So thank you for what you do. So many times I think that's for maybe what we would consider the least of our community. Everything from those, I've talked about it 100 times, but those that are checking out, Wi-Fi packs so that they can do their homework from home because they don't have that internet. I look forward to being able to have fiber to every household in the city for that very purpose, and being able to create waivers for those that are in the poorest of circumstances and need that. And hopefully we'll find that, well, I know we will, that our community will continue to grow and prosper because of that. So just, again, I wish there was a better word. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but the Quality Library Award doesn't quite scream the best library in the state, which is truly what it is. But it is the highest honor that can be given, and I just want to make, as maybe an exiting comment, but I've just thoroughly enjoyed working with them. And then with Steel Days, I was able to meet with Josh and Christina with the chamber, and I know there's been some clamor recently about, is Steel Days even being planned yet? And it absolutely is. They're heavily involved in that. It starts basically the day after the other one ends. So, but they are just. In fact, we had an email going around today about the final design of the what's it called, the logo or whatever for this year. So that'll be hitting the website soon, and I know people are really anxious, but those dates are continuing to be really, really important, not only for our residents in the community specific to American Fork, but I had some other people from my work that reached out and just said, wow, that event is turning into more of a county, North County, county-wide kind of experience, and tens of thousands of people being served at that. So we're looking forward to being able to put out those dates. Josh probably has them, but anyway, they're coming soon to the website, so you'll see that soon. That's all I have to report.
Okay.
Can I add one thing? Absolutely. I will say I've done this, and I appreciate Councilmember Hawley doing this the other time too with his new son, and sounds like all is well. Thank you. My oldest entered boot camp today, and he enlisted 6 months ago, but boot camp wasn't for, I don't know, we expected him to go right after, but it didn't happen until today. But just very humbled and honored for those who serve and represent our country. Obviously touching today for me personally, but be remiss if I didn't say that. That's all I have.
Thank you. For the mayor's report, I'm going to come down here, get my exercise tonight. So I am going to deliver the State of the City address. It's about 15 to 18 minutes long, so bear with me. I will be touching upon points of the library, so I'm glad I can maybe add some more data to how the library works. And Councilmember Hunter, there's a lot of good patriotic feel in this, and as I drafted it and we went through things, I felt it was important to bring up things that we have done this past year and what we look forward to in the future. So this past Veterans Day, we welcomed home late Captain Jim Chipman, a resident of American Fork, for his service in the Vietnam War. We stood together with his family to remember someone who had been away, lost for 50 years. I participated in an escort from the airport to American Fork, which included Captain Chipman's family, members of the American Fork Police, Utah Highway Patrol, and the Patriot Guard Riders. Our entire community lined the streets and filled the cemetery grounds to pay our respects to a man who represented selfless sacrifice for God, family, and country. Being a part of honoring Captain Chipman and other veterans on Veterans Day was deeply meaningful for me. If you know me, you know that I feel passionate about the history of our great country and the freedoms that we enjoy. I am grateful for the service of our military. I am impressed by the community support during this experience and by what a special place our city is. American Fork has changed significantly in the 50 years since Captain Jim Chipman has been away. We have grown tremendously in residents, businesses, and homes throughout our city. However, I would like to think that we would experience, that he would experience the same sense of community, caring, and unity he felt 50 years ago. I am proud of all we have accomplished as a city in the past 50 years, and even this past year. I'd like to mention some of those changes, focus on how they have helped us grow stronger together as a community. As you may recall, last spring, all eyes looked to the mountains as we cautiously watched the aftermath of a snowy winter. Luckily, God and the community were on our side. We experienced moderate temperatures, which helped while we coordinated with numerous businesses and agencies, including the American Fork Irrigation Company, to prevent and prepare for flooding. Several businesses, including LVT, Kilgore, and Woodside Homes, donated time and resources to help prepare thousands of sandbags for our residents. Make no mistake, without our city employees, American Fork would have seen flooding in our city. Water in the mountains came through the heart of our city through a sustained period of time at maximum capacity. It would only have taken one backup under a road to send the river over the banks and into neighborhoods. But that never happened. That's because employees cleared the entire river before the first drop of water ever passed through our town. They removed over 50 truckloads of trash and debris. Then during flooding season, our city employees monitored the river 24/7, removing any blockages immediately. While most of us slept, they were patrolling the river through the night. I once again thank our employees for their dedication to keeping us safe. 2024 is looking to be more moderate than last year. Last year's snowpack was 230% of normal. Right now, we are at about 100% of normal. But as good stewards who live in a desert, we should always be mindful of water conservation. To that end, we are wrapping up our PI metering installation project, which will have a dramatic result in reducing water consumption. As a city, we were able to pay for this $12 million project almost exclusively from grants. This year, we will conduct a rate study to determine new rates that are fair and manageable for our residents while still incentivizing water conservation. Residents and businesses will have a season to see how their water use impacts their bills before the new rates are implemented in 2025. The city's community services provided opportunities for our residents to have the best quality of life possible. Our fitness center has been in operation at its current location for 30 years and saw over 300,000 patrons come through its doors in 2023. Last year, we surveyed our residents about updating our fitness center. 72% of those surveyed said they would support a new fitness center. With that information, we are investigating options for a new facility that will bring our residents in the future for consideration and approval. The American Fork Library celebrated its 100th anniversary with a big splash, including a party that had custom artwork, swag, and even an activity book. They had 229,602 visits last year. They held many community events this year and were deemed a quality library board by the Utah State Library for the 5th year in a row. Other community services include numerous recreation programs, beautiful park spaces, and a robust senior center, and an active and supported veterans center. Without all our amazing employees that keep our services going, we would not enjoy these wonderful services that bring our community together. I am proud of all we have accomplished. I can't deliver one of these addresses without plugging our park program. Last year alone, we invested $1.7 million in American Fork, and overall, we've invested $9.5 million. In 2023, the park tax funded playgrounds, upgrades at Miller and Greenwood Park, bathrooms at Art Dye, Greenwood and Henley Park. Park tax helped us celebrate our library's 100th anniversary with custom swag and activity books. It brought us a new drone show during Steel Days, and coming this spring, we'll have 6 new pickleball courts up and running, all thanks to our park program. By way of arts, our park program funded new performances and theater classes taught by Regalo Theater, Fork Fest, and a live nativity and Christmas market from Harrington Center for the Arts, and numerous plays, performances, and concerts put on by our youth and adults from Timpanogos Arts Foundation. These are just a few of the resources our residents were able to enjoy through the park tax. Other events I'm proud of were done in cooperation with our terrific Chamber of Commerce. These events include Steel Days, Halloween on Main, and Holiday Magic at the park. It was great to see Santa again and the beautiful Christmas lights we enjoy every year at Robinson Park, were thanks to our parks crew. We saw the greatest turnout ever at the Chamber's Halloween on Main. I enjoy dressing up as Bandit. And if you don't know who Bandit is, he is the dad of the famous Bluey. Well, I met with our wonderful residents and businesses at that event. These events are part of the heartbeat of American Fork City. Steel Days was as great as ever with the addition of an amazing drone show funded by Park Tax. We have a few events I feel especially exemplified community. First was our Monarch Park renaming and dedication. What started with the class of 5th graders advocating to the city council for butterflies metamorphed into a park space dedicated to the preservation of the monarch butterfly. This park celebrates the beautiful monarch butterfly who make a brief home in American Fork on their migration journey. This is in part due to the abundant milkweed and natural springs in the area, which make a perfect home for these butterflies. We are seeking grants to further enhance and preserve this space, which we hope our residents will enjoy. Last year, we held our 2nd annual Petapalooza event at our beautiful Doug Smith Subaru Dog Park at Art Dye Park. We thank Doug Smith Subaru and their sponsorship to help make this park possible in conjunction with funding from the park tax. There were games and agility courses for dogs, foods, trucks, local vendors, and pet vaccinations at this event. We saw hundreds of people and just as many dogs attend the wonderful event. The high quality of life we enjoyed is built in part on the efforts of our residents, businesses, and city services, which all support one another. This year we delivered on our promise to give our residents a 2nd fire station. American Fork Fire Department welcomes Station 5-2, a brand new state-of-the-art fire station that serves American Fork and Cedar Hills. This station was funded in part through an $8.5 million bond approved by the residents in 2019. This facility houses 3 apparatus bays, a training room, living quarters, and fitness room. In addition, our police will have offices and interview rooms to better assist Cedar Hills, as well as a shooting range, which will save us time and money when compared to training at the fire range near Tooele, where we previously used. This facility could not have come at a better time. Our fire department is still the busiest in Utah County. Last year, they responded to 4,845 calls for service and conducted over 1,000 man-hours of training. Our fire department lives by the motto, always ready. They are community members as well, having participated in 190 educational events impacting over 15,000 individuals last year. Our police are equally busy protecting American Fork and Cedar Hills and being good community partners. Last year, our police department responded to 29,341 calls for service, which amounts to about 1,000 calls per officer per year. These calls require our officers to be prepared for every scenario with quick response times through continuous training. Our police department participated in over 40 different training courses last year. Many may not realize that patrol is only a fraction of what officers do. Other responsibilities include code enforcement, animal control, school resource officers, canine demonstration, investigations, undercover work, special weapons and tactics, city events, and victims advocates. We also have an entire division dedicated to managing evidence and records. They do so much for us. Improving and maintaining our infrastructure continues to be one of our top priorities as a city. Maybe you were even frustrated by all the construction going on in the city last year as we work to repair and improve roads, water lines, and sidewalks. We are sorry for the inconvenience, but not for the improvements. We put more towards roads and infrastructure last year than ever before. This year, we plan to make roads a top priority again, though we expect inflation to affect how far our dollars will go. 200 South is a big project we have been working on for years and are looking forward to Phase 1 completion in 2024. Phase 1 will consist of a roundabout at the frontage road with improvements all the way to 570 West. The remainder of 200 South will take place once the city resolves land acquisition negotiation with property owners along 200 South. We have the funding and are ready to proceed as soon as right-of-way is acquired. All the services we provide and projects we fund are all done under careful scrutiny of our leadership and elected officials. Our financial position is strong in American Fork City due to our consistent efforts to operate within our means and be responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. Our finance department received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the fiscal year ending in June 2022. We also received the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the fiscal year 2022-2023. Our fiscal responsibilities have provided us with the highest bond rating possible for a city of our size. This saves our residents significant dollars in interest anytime we bond. Last year, we shared news about our partnership with Strata Networks to provide high-speed internet to all residents in our community. American Fork will own the network. Strata will maintain it. ISPs will provide service, and residents will benefit. Only residents who want the service will pay for it, and ISPs are not obligated to join if they don't want to. It will also be subscription-based, meaning those that use it will pay for it. There are a number of ads right now attacking the idea of resident-owned fiber network. In our research, they are funded by telecom companies who don't want a competitive market for fiber. Ultimately, we are proceeding at the request and even the demand of our residents. Our fiber network will offer faster speeds, greater reliability, and more long-term internet options, increasing residents' ability to choose the best options for them and their families. We are currently working with Strata to design the network and pricing, but residents can pre-register now by going to americanfork.fibertomycity.com. Construction begins this year, and we will continue to share updates as they come. You won't be surprised to hear that we are still a growing city. Last year, we had over 873 permits issued for commercial and residential construction. A more impressive number is that we conducted 26,102 inspections last year, which equates to about 5,252 inspections per inspector. I hope that tells you how seriously we take development in our city, which is good because we have seen a significant decrease in permits have not seen a significant decrease in building permits in spite of increasing mortgage rates and a looming recession. As mayor, I am keenly aware that we are the hub of this county. We are a center point for recreation, education, family, and entertainment. We recognize we are also a hub for transportation. As you may have seen, there are some major transportation issues getting people around the lake, and they are looking to American Fork for solutions. Although I want us to be a team player and recognize that transportation needs for the whole of the county, I must also think of the needs of our city. We have to approach these complex issues in working to integrate with communities around us and respect the needs of our residents with care and thoughtfulness. That is what I intend to do. This growth has provided a lot of different housing types in our city. Please don't look at this as a negative thing. We are providing housing for every stage of someone's life. That is stability. We are also providing housing for our kids and our grandkids. Like all of you, we are also very concerned about smart growth and ensuring that our community has the necessary services to go along with housing. We have even had to turn people away when they want to build houses in commercial areas. We are not interested in building for building's sake, but in building a community with all the amenities needed for us to enjoy. Every once in a while, you may read in the news about a city whose mayor and council don't get along. I am grateful that has not been the case in American Fork. I appreciate Kevin Barnes and Rob Shelton for their service and welcome our new council members, Ernie John and Tim Hawley, and know they are up to the task to work productively with our existing council members to do what is in the best interest of our residents. During my speech, I've covered a lot of different aspects of what is happening in American Fork, including quality of life, water, public safety, infrastructure, financial responsibility, elections, fiber, and growth in American Fork. I want you to remember what I've shared about Captain Ralph Jim Chipman. Our individual efforts matter. We make an impression on the people around us that lasts a lifetime. And while our city continues to evolve, grow, and transform, it's the people that will keep our community timeless. Thank you. One might ask, why does the mayor give the state of the city in a city council meeting? I'll tell you one of the reasons why, because it's the second time that I've given that address. You would never know it, but I feel it's important that we put it in a public record. What is said and done in this meeting is held in perpetuity, and you never know. When somebody wants to look back, 50 years from now, they'll hear those words, and it will be entered in as a public record. Okay, that concludes the mayor's report. We'll now move on to the common consent agenda. It's very lengthy, consisting of 18 items. Has there been any noted changes in the minutes that you're aware of, Stephanie? Any questions that the council has on a lot of these releases of bonding that the council has for the staff?
Mayor, having looked through this, and I'd move to approve the, sorry, my screen's gone. I don't know if that's on me but move to approve this, if you want to read the motion. What's it called?
The common
consent
consent
agenda.
Consent agenda,
Okay.
thank you.
Motion by Councilmember Hunter,
Second.
second by Councilmember John. Any discussion on this motion? I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll. Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Hawley.
Aye.
Councilmember John.
Aye.
Okay, item number 1 on the action items. I'm going to just read them as a collective group. I think some of them are here. We won't make you come up, but thank you for being here. We have a review and action on approval of appointments to various city committees and boards. James Hanson to the Audit Committee. This is a reappointment. Kevin Barnes to the Cemetery Committee. Scott Oakleberry is a reappointment to the Park Tax Board. Karen Shack, reappointment to the Park Tax Board. Kimberly Martin, a new board member to the Park Tax Board. and William Roberts to the Senior Board. Any questions that the council has? Because we can bring them up if they're here.
No, I was impressed as I read through this. I mean, you think about how many committees and how many places these, sorry, somebody told me he couldn't hear me, so I'm going to try and eat this microphone and make it loud. But it's amazing to me the amount of volunteer time that goes in that we sometimes don't think about in here. And this is a good example of, as we renew these and add more individuals, just the sheer, the amount of time, but also the caliber of individuals that we have in our city that are willing to dedicate and just volunteer. And I just thank them for their time up front. And with that, I'd move to approve. The appointments as were read. I have it. I've jumped clear to page 300 because in the packet I'm trying to stay where I've got my focus. But
Yes.
yeah, move
Okay.
to the appointments as presented. Thank you.
Okay.
Tim.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Hunter,
Second.
second by Councilmember Holly. Any discussion on this motion?
I'll add my thanks to
Yeah.
Councilmember Hunter. It is, and I also think that it makes people appreciate their city and be involved in the city. It makes, in turn, makes the city a better place. So I think it's one of the best things we can do, have people on these committees.
And I just want to concur as well. What you just said, Mayor, is all about individual efforts and everybody's contribution to the city. And like Bill Roberts, he's one of my neighbors, and it was obviously really tragic when his wife passed away a little bit over a year ago. But it's just awesome to see people just finding different capacities and different talents that they have and how they can contribute to our city in their own different ways. So.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second, and I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Holly,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember John.
Aye.
Okay, item number 2 is a review and action on an ordinance approving a zone change known as Timpview Logistics Centers located at approximately 1500 South Center Street on approximately 21.5 acres. The property proposed to change from a PF zone to a PI1 zone. And Patrick, he comes right up here close, and I'll bring him up if we need him, if there's any questions.
I have one question, maybe just to understand from the map, and I want to make sure I got my notes right. But just looking at the map, and it seemed like that PF zone was about 20 acres or something, 21 acres. But we're just changing 1.5 acres. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's an area about halfway through last year we amended our Parks and Trails master plan and took some of that area out. The applicant's only looking to change a certain portion of what they own. Some of it is for a future Pony Express route. So there's a much larger PF area there, but they're looking just to shrink down what's under their ownership as a part of future development.
So the whole PF zone is changing to P?
No, just
that one
the
point?
part that's under this applicant's
yeah, okay.
area.
Got it. No, I just wanted to make sure I understood it correctly. Thank you.
Okay,
This
Mayor.
was, sorry, I was just going to add my comment, but when we talked about this, when we secured that extra 30 acres down there on the south end of town, the trail, it didn't make sense to have a trail running down through an industrial park to nowhere. So we've routed that back to this major regional park that'll be in that area, 30 acres. And so rather than riding past it and waving, you'll actually ride to the park, have facilities there. So anyway.
I was just going to make a motion.
Okay.
I move to adopt the ordinance approving a zone change located at approximately 1500 South Center Street from the current PI1 and PF zones to the PI1 and PF zones identified in the packet, with instructions to the city recorder to withhold recording of the zone change subject to all conditions identified in the public record associated with the January 3rd, 2024 Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember John,
Aye.
Councilmember Holly,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Okay, item number 3A is a review and action on amended final plat known as Anderson Acres PUD Plat C located at 864 East, 120 North. The final plat will be approximately 1.39 acres and will be in the R1 9000 residential zone. Any questions on this, council?
I did have a question on this one, and this is mostly a clarification. Sometimes when we have open space that hasn't been platted, it's because it's supposed to remain open space. Do you have any record on this, if this was part of their open space requirement?
It was part of common area, but I think they had excess, and that was allowing it to not take away from what was the required area.
Okay.
With that, it was essentially unusable because it was at the rear of a property, so it was not a part of any usable open space.
Okay.
All of that's out in other areas along, I think, property frontage.
Okay. So it's combining from two different plats and putting it into
Yeah.
it'll be two plots, right?
It's a consolidation, yeah.
Okay.
Patrick, we're the amount of open space required is still there, though, correct?
Yeah.
We're not.
I don't have the calculation on with me, but as we went through the review, that's not something that was
Okay,
as flagged
as long-
as being a
yeah.
concern. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We're just trying to, Tim and I are trying to make sure we're on the same page with this. Can you pull up the map for it? I think it's 311.
Oh yeah, there was some maybe discrepancies in the packet, is what I thought.
Yeah, that's what I was questioning,
Yeah,
because I
because
saw
there's
these.
like some maps that are not part of this parcel. I
Yeah, what's
think.
this Evergreen Drive? I thought this was, and I thought I remember seeing this in a previous city council, but this, I don't see Evergreen Drive near this lot we're talking about. The one that's on
So
Fleming
in our
Drive.
packet, there's some pictures from a different item, I believe.
Well, the applicant's agents are here and they can speak to some of those concerns if you have some.
Yeah, if it's
For-
the applicant's here, we'll have you come up. If you just state your name, please, sir.
I'm Kenneth Torsak. And what these additional plans are is in the back of that plat that we're asking to be amended, there was a ditch and currently acting as a storm drain. And so those are improvements to the north side to close that ditch so that there's no longer storm drains running through the
I
backyards,
did
properties.
not catch that at all.
Okay.
I was like, oh, it's
That
a
makes
different
sense.
road.
So on Evergreen Drive, there are improvements there that need to be incorporated so that the drainage can be contained on an Evergreen. Also on 300 North, there's some improvements on 300 North.
That's, okay.
So Evergreen Drive will be getting curb and gutter on the south side of Evergreen Drive. And then sumps will be installed so that it can handle the drainage, because the ditch is going to go away, which limits where drainage can go.
Okay.
The irrigation ditch was abandoned by the irrigation company, so the only use was storm drain. So in working with this applicant over 5 years, 4 years, Kenny?
Quite some time.
We've been working a long time to work this out, and they've worked really hard to make it work with us. So it's finally good to get it done.
Well, that makes sense why we couldn't figure out how that was connected, so
Yes.
thank you.
Okay.
So let me scroll
Madam-
back now. Well, you can go. Go ahead. You got it.
Mayor, I move to approve the proposed amended final plat located at 864 East, 120 North in the residential R1 9000, subject to any conditions found in the staff report.
Okay, have a motion by Councilmember Holly,
Second?
second by Councilmember John. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember John,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye?
Councilmember Holly.
Aye.
Item number 3B is a review and action on a final plat known as Loveridge Property Plat B, located at approximately 315 West, 480 South. The final plat will be approximately .26 acres and will be in the R1 9000 zone. Any questions on this one?
No, this is really straightforward. Happy to make a motion. Okay, I move to approve the final plat located at approximately 315 West, 480 South in the residential R1 9000 zone, subject to any conditions found in the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll,
Second.
second by Councilmember Holly. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Holly,
Aye.
Councilmember John,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Item number C3 is a review and action on an ordinance approving a commercial site plan known as Walton Lane Townhomes located at 781 East Quality Drive. The commercial site plan will be approximately .97 acres and will be in the PC zone. Any questions on this one?
This might be a really, really dumb question.
Hey, you know what?
So,
There's no dumb questions.
I don't know.
Ever.
There can be, especially for me sometimes. But I'm sorry, are we moving the location or the type of material?
It's the material, so they're changing from sod.
So
So,
it says
uh,
approving the sod location, they're not moving the location?
So there's, I think, essentially, buildings and everything are staying in the exact same place. This is just handling just some changes to the landscaping plan. We're trying to take a more water-wise approach on it, and I think there's some cost implications that they're looking at as well. In terms of looking through species diversity and everything else that's required in the code, it still meets all of those landscaping elements. As far as we're able to tell, and what's noted in the plans is that it's moving from sod to a mulch type of material.
Okay, xeriscape.
Yeah, which will end up being more water-wise in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always good.
Is all of it, is there any sod at all? Particularly at the playground area, I'm wondering about.
Not too sure.
I couldn't tell from the
I'd have
map.
to look back at it. This was a couple of weeks ago, actually prior to Christmas, I think the last time I looked at the plans on it.
Oh,
But
then everything's been erased probably in your brain by then. Yeah. For
Well,
me, it would be.
yeah, I know what you're saying. I was in Ireland. I know what you're trying to say.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I don't know if I'm looking at this correctly. Not that it matters, they have the right to do it, I suppose, right?
Yeah, and we're in a challenging situation as well. I think with just some of the changes that came through with the legislature, we can't require
Okay,
grass
okay,
or lawn
fair.
in areas.
okay. Sounds good.
But if you do scroll in the key on the side, it'll probably give you a better indication. And but playground looks like it's still going to be a lawn area. Yeah,
that's what I was looking at too. But I thought this was the old,
yeah.
this is the one they're proposing, not the old?
This is the amendment. Yeah. So they'll still have it in. I didn't think it was all going, but there's a significant amount of change that is happening to it, enough to warrant it going back to council to amend that. So with the amendment, this will replace the existing landscape plan in their currently approved site plan. Nothing else changes then in terms of building location or plant location.
Yeah, I think
They're under construction.
We're going to be seeing a lot more of this with the way the legislature made changes. We're going to be seeing a lot more, and I think it's going to put a lot more on staff to make sure the balance between sod and what they've allowed in the name of water-wise to go in. So,
Yeah, we don't want it to be a shortcut approach to having asphalt or concrete everywhere.
No, we don't.
There still needs to be an
Yeah.
aesthetic element to having something that's appealing and
Well,
is landscape related. It's-
yes,
playground. I think that's a
Yeah.
perfect example.
yeah.
Yeah, playground's good because that grass area then is multiple use.
Use, yeah,
Yep.
has a specific use, absolutely.
It seems like there's more and more people in the world that have at least one dog too. This just, and it needs a little bit of grass.
Oh, no.
Hopefully they
Clean it up.
use the dog park for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Playground / minefield.
Yeah.
All right. Mayor, I would move to adopt the ordinance approving the proposed commercial site plan located at 781 East Quality Drive in the planned community PC zone, subject to any conditions found in the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Hunter,
Second?
second by Councilmember John. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember John,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Holly.
Aye.
Okay, thank you for staying right there, Patrick. Item number 4 is review and action on an ordinance approving amendments to section 17.8.200 of the city code relating to procedures for obtaining approval of a subdivision. Why don't you just give us an overview?
Sure. Last year, the legislature changed the approval processes for municipalities, and how they handle subdivision plats and preliminary plans. This essentially is us looking at what a number of other communities have instituted, and we're just trying to conform to the state requirements. We've outlined a new process for handling site plans or for handling preliminary plans and final plats at an administrative level, and then just specifying the different appeal procedure and everything within that. So essentially, we're just trying to conform to state requirements. But if there's anything in the ordinance, I'm happy to speak to that. What was in the packet, there have been a couple suggested amendments that we do have to that, just to add some additional clarifying language in terms of appeal procedures.
What might they be, so we can, as far as those appeal procedures?
So in front of you should be the
Oh,
updated
okay.
language.
Right.
I'm sorry. If you look at
See some
section,
highlighted sections.
if you look at section 17.8.212, that was a reserved section in the original submittal. We've changed that to appeals and disputes. And this section defines how a subdivider who is denied approval would be able to appeal to the planning commission. And then also, if the municipality fails to respond within 20 business days after, on the fourth and final review, then they have a process according to the state code on what they would do to appeal that. And so we're following state code with regards to appeals and disputes. There were a couple of other minor changes in 17.8.211, just defining the standards that we're talking about. That would be the improvement standards and specifications for subdivision improvements. So.
I'm curious to know what every good mandate that comes down from the state or anywhere tends to have ripple effects. What is that going to cause for staff? Maybe this isn't a good question as legal grabs the mic.
I'll
I'm
sit
just waiting
down.
to see how Patrick's going to answer it.
I was
Anyway.
taking a moment.
I think, you know, the intent with it obviously is to speed up the development approval process. The difficulty becomes, and I think what we will likely see, is the number of times we see applications get brought forward currently to planning commission or council where there's still little things that need to be taken care of. From here moving forward, that can't happen. It's a hard yes or a hard no. They get 3 to 4 review cycles, depending on the procedure that's set up with the city, no more than 4 review cycles. And if they don't have everything fixed by the end of that cycle, it's a denial. And then they start all over at the very beginning.
Yeah, no conditional approvals is going to be the big change. Minor tweaks is not going to be something that would be allowed after the fact, because at least from the staff perspective, when something comes to planning commission or city council, and you make an approval from the authority that you have, and staff can check it at that point again. On the staff level, it seems pointless for us to approve something with conditions that we're just going to review the next day again when something's resubmitted. If it's going to be submitted in the next couple of days, just get it done before the deadline and we'll move it on. We want to move stuff on as quick as we can and get development through and into the pipeline. I think that's the ultimate goal, and we will try and have it as streamlined and straightforward as possible, but I think there'll be growing pains.
Yeah, that was my, you probably sensed it, but that's my feeling. It almost feels like we're given a solution to a problem that kind of wasn't totally defined and maybe had misinterpretation as to what the real problem is.
And I think it's a blanket approach that the state's handed down, where it's been an issue in some places, but those few places have meant that everyone else needs to change course as well.
Right.
And respond to a few problem issues.
I will note two other minor things, and one being that this change in code, because it happened so quickly, I think that we're going to see this ripple effect in that, similar to our city code, right? We change one section and then we see, as Patrick and I were going through and trying to make some of these changes here, we started asking questions about, well, if it's this, well then how does that impact this other section? And because certain things were defined elsewhere in the code, but they didn't redefine them here. And so we've already caught a couple of things like that, and so I think you're going to see more of that. The other issue is our plats are where we accept dedications of land, road dedication and whatnot. And so now we've created this administrative ability to accept dedications of land, which we're still trying to work through how exactly that happens, because generally that's a legislative action, accepting or relinquishing dedication of land.
Is that power still given to relinquish land too? Currently?
Right now, it's not either, and that's what a lot of us on the legal side are trying to kind of figure out, how we're going to maneuver through this process, knowing that certain acts are legislative by other portions of the code, how we're going to then make that work with this.
And speaking of the ripple effect as well that Sherilyn brought up, that we're going to have that impact with our city code, but then we've noticed there are a couple of gaps and problems in state code as well that probably were oversights last year that will need to be tightened up this year. So we don't know what impacts that's going to have on us as we move forward. So I would think be prepared to see some additional follow-up on this to make some further tweaks as more stuff just is made aware to us.
But I will say at this point, the only question is whether or not that appeal, or not the appeal authority, whether or not the administrative approval happens at the staff level or the planning commission level. And what's before you today is that that's happening at the staff level, because ultimately taking it to planning commission, it felt like it would be just kind of a rubber stamp where our staff would be the ones going to planning commission, telling them this is what you should do. So that's why we opted to craft it with a staff approval.
And it adds to the time constraint where when we receive an application and we're on the clock, if we don't get something, if we don't get something, say today, or last week after our last planning commission meeting, we could have 3 weeks before our next one where you've got just an extra Wednesday in a month, and we're on the clock, and it's hard to juggle how we get that thing forward without special meetings, and it's the headaches that come with it. I don't think it saves us any time.
Well, all in the name of furthering our development.
Well, I'm concerned about water rights because we're beholden to the state to approve the water right changes as they come through, especially subsurface. How's that going to affect your timeline? Because that's out of our hands. That's out of your hands. That's one of the. Okay, yeah, that was my concern, but I didn't.
We'll add that one to the list.
Yeah. Okay. So, I guess this is our best effort to live within a construct that we've been handed, albeit questionable.
Council, if you are amenable to approving this, would you please mention in your motion the changes to 17.8.211 and 17.8212, just to make sure that we have that on the record that this is what was presented?
I'll make a stab at it. Mayor, I'd move to approve the proposed code text amendments amending section 17.8.200 titled Procedure for obtaining approval of a subdivision of the American Fork City Code relating to the approval procedure for a subdivision and providing an effective date for the ordinance, with the changes and amendments that were before us in section 17.8.211 in numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5, as well as section 17.8.212 related to appeals and disputes.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Hunter and a second by Councilmember Carroll. Any discussion on this motion?
I have a couple of things that I was just taking down notes, and maybe if I missed it, then I apologize. But just in the Planning Commission minutes, it talked about having instead of 4 revisions, having 3 revisions. Is that correct, referring to this?
So
And if
this-
so, is that anywhere like specifically stated in
So
the
the,
code?
the state allows up to 4, but no more. On the city end, we're looking at just capping it at 3 reviews.
So is that going to be specifically highlighted in here, or is that just going to be an internal
I think
process?
we were going to do that just as an administrative process and see how things go and amend as we need to, as we, there's going to be a little bit of trial and error, and we'll ask for people's patience as we go through it. We'll stick to our timelines, but we will need to see what does work and what doesn't work over the first few submissions on this and how we handle it. I think anyone who is currently got something submitted is vested in our existing code, and we'll try and get all that sorted. But any new application from February 1 will be under this new state code.
Okay. And then I had one other thing, just looking through, and this is maybe outside the scope of this, but just in 17.1.700, it talks about in the instance of approval of a subdivision pursuant to the provisions of chapter 17.8 of the Development Code, the land use authority shall be the city council acting in administrative capacity. The appeal authority for such application shall be the district court. And I was just kind of thinking, I mean, would it be better if the land use authority was the city planner, and then the appeal authority was the city council? And I can give that part of city code if you need to.
Yeah, what section were you
It was
on?
17.1.700, and just referencing 17.8, so that's the only reason. As I said, if this is outside the scope, we can talk about it another time.
No, this is not outside the scope. This is one of those situations where we fix one part of the code and we have to find all of the other cross-references to that. So this being the new code would supersede the other section. Quite frankly, this is what state law is anyway, so state law will always trump. So this is our attempt to come into compliance with state law. What you're pointing out absolutely will need to be changed. But there's also another element to this, that this is for subdivisions under this section. There's other pieces that will still be treated differently. But I don't want to make it more complicated today. But there are certain approvals that fall outside of this. And so we have to be careful of how we change those other sections.
Because amended plats will still come before Planning Commission and City Council, rather than being handled at an administrative staff level. So it's going to be confusing for a while.
Okay, perfect.
Well, I'm sure in our code rewrite, we're going to find all these things and we'll just make them all right?
But I do appreciate that, and in the future, please don't hesitate to point out other portions of code that you see these cross-references, because we try to catch them, but we're certainly not perfect in doing that, and that's the whole purpose of this code rewrite to begin with, is that we've done this so many times now that there are incorrect references.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Okay, I have a motion and a second, and I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember John?
Aye.
Councilmember Holly?
Aye.
Item number 5 is a review and action on a resolution approving amendments to the general fee schedule. Go ahead and just get the reason why,
Yeah.
and just give us an overview. Patrick.
We've reviewed our existing fee schedules, and essentially on a staff level, we're not covering costs, and the feel is that we are on a city level subsidizing private development at the taxpayer's expense rather than at an applicant's expense. So essentially we're just trying to come in line with that and pull the burden around and essentially just cover the time for reviews at that level. We are looking at it on a revenue neutral kind of perspective. This isn't a money-making thing, and it's really just to cover the cost. Right now on some plat applications we're $250. One of them we have on our 5th review, so you're talking $50 a review. You're not even talking hour rates for people anymore. It gets a little bit ridiculous, and that's covering general administrative service, prep for planning commission, prep for city council, and then the staff review. It just doesn't cut it on our end, and we feel like it impacts the taxpayer. We're looking to switch that around and match similar to what engineering has done in the past, but not to the same extent. This is generally just for development review. And we have proposed also another amendment, not on the development review, but on the code amendments, code text amendments, to pull that out as its own independent piece, and to raise the fee on that significantly with the effort that Sherilyn is putting in on the code rewrite to enable us to do thorough review to make sure that when we change one section of code, that it doesn't impact another section of code. The review that's required for that is significant, so we don't end up having a brand new great code and we get a couple code text amendments that come in and butcher the whole thing again, and we're back to the same situation as we find ourselves with numerous contradictions. It's really to help us to do our due diligence and make sure that one amendment in our code isn't going to have contradictions elsewhere.
I did wonder about that because I thought on the fee schedule here, it's showing that that's a new fee, and I thought that we
So
did
it
have
was combined with a general plan amendment, I think. So it was pulled out. So the two of those were shown on the exact same line,
Okay.
I believe, in the past, and we just separated it out as its own independent line so that the land use amendment could stay at the same fee that it was, but would have a higher fee for the code amendment.
So what was the amount before for the?
I think it was $250.
Okay.
And I know the increase for the code amendment is significant. It's up to 1,000.
Yeah.
But we also
I
looked at
know
all of
we-
our adjacent communities, and that's kind of the middle ground on it. Some of them are in excess of $1,200–1,300.
Dang.
But this is our city code we're talking about as
I
well.
know.
This is what gives us the enforcement powers that we need. It ensures that development happens the way that the city intends it to happen, and when we have contradictions, we run into issues and loopholes happen, and we end up with stuff that the city does not intend or does not want. So by being able to conduct a thorough review, we ensure that we don't end up with those loopholes.
I think as a developer, you're gonna, I would hope, I would expect that they're gonna actually appreciate this, because, I mean, we've heard time and time again from people who come in here, it's like, well, it contradicts itself in this section because it's here, and you go back and you.
And I think
Just
it
like we found
frustrates
out
them
just
as much as it frustrates us, because
100%.
they're looking for guidance, and there's two different things. They've been told 2 or 3 different things, and they're trying to figure out which one do we go with.
We cannot get that code text rewrite done any faster. And as soon as that happens, hopefully we can start with more tolerable. This won't come up very often because we have a code that we can rely on.
Can I just add maybe a little bit of context? You know, when we have a code that now sometimes it's one word, but typically when we're looking at code rewrites that are being prompted by a developer, they're significant rewrites that take no less than 2 to 3 hours from a legal side, working with Patrick and others. And when now obviously the city's not paying legal fees on an hourly rate, but your average legal fee in today's economy is anywhere from $300 an hour up to about $600 an hour. So if you're looking at paying legal fees, now again, the city's not paying hourly fees, but if you were paid hourly fees, you would be looking at probably closer to $2,000 in legal fees and staff review time for any code amendment. And so the number seems alarming, but if you put it into perspective of the professional skills that are being utilized and what their hourly rates are in the market, it's actually not as glaringly outrageous as it seems when you first look at it.
And I don't think this would be a double dip. It's the $1,000 for the application fee inclusive of staff time, not having the staff time additional to that on the hourly fee that comes with it. Just for complete clarity on all of that. That's my intention on it as well.
Absolutely.
It's not to make it inaccessible.
And then the other piece to that is if it's something that a developer brings to the city and we look at our code and say, oh wow, that definitely, you're right, that needs to be changed across the board. We have the ability to say, you know what, this is one that's not necessarily just for this project. This is something that we as a staff feel like this really should come forward. And if it's not really being driven by a developer and it's coming from staff, we're not going to look at a developer and say, no, you want this for your project, you have to pay it. If as a whole staff looks at it and says, oh no, this absolutely is in the city's best interest.
Okay, I think I maybe need some clarification on when somebody proposes a code text, because I thought it was like they propose it, they pay their fee, and they give us their draft of what it is, and that's what I've seen is their draft, and it's not like the city staff that's had to do anything.
So that happens, and sometimes it's terrible. And the staff
Sure.
will put it.
That's
The
how I knew.
staff
It
will
was
put
like-
Exhibit B in and show this is what staff would recommend if you are going to go forward with this amendment. This is what staff would recommend, or we would just make a recommendation of denial.
And this is what staff would recommend. Also, if you look to amend this section of code, here's all of the other sections of code that we also need.
But we do ask for some form of template to say, okay, we need to know the section of code that you're looking
Sure.
to do. You know, we've got stuff before on a Word document that's a line and it doesn't even reference the section of code, and we're here wondering, what exactly are you talking about? And, you know, so we're left searching for all of this, we're left searching for all the additional contradictions. The more information that comes to us, the easier it is, but that's not always the case. 9 times out of 10, there's significant work that needs to happen on a staff level. We do get the one occasionally that everything's done, the whereases are almost even provided to us.
Well, and usually those are the ones where the attorneys already called us and talked
We've
to
met with
us
them
and
significantly and worked through it,
what
yeah.
changes we're amenable to, that they'll get a positive recommendation, and there's a lot of time that goes into that.
We've
before they
negotiated something that on a staff level we can understand where there's not going to be undue impacts.
Okay. Sorry to
No, you're
monopolize,
fine.
but I have
You're
one
just
other
fine.
thing.
It's almost 1 o'clock. Don't
Okay.
worry about it.
Almost 1 o'clock, no problem for me. These are new hourly fees for development, right? And I have expressed, I just want to make sure that we're giving a scope of work and an estimate to people as they come in, because hourly fees can be a surprise sometimes.
Yeah, so on all of our application fees, we've done it already for engineering.
Thank you.
And we will do it if this is approved, where we have a note that there are additional fees beyond application fee.
Okay.
And that if people need clarification on what those are, that they can reach out to us and we can speak to them about that. This is where concept plans come in extremely useful, because we can talk about the extent of work that's needed at a concept plan level. If we've never spoken to someone before,
Yeah.
then it's hard for us to give them an estimate when we've never even seen a concept plan, never mind the formal plans that they've just submitted. And at that point, we don't look at the formal plans until they've paid their application fee, so they're already invested and people feel
Sure.
like they have to pay. So there's the element of, the concept plan is the very best way to start off.
Okay.
The hourly fee is not going to be attributed to that on the planning level. That is a service to make everything run smoother.
Nice, okay. I mean, my concern is mostly just surprise fees, so if they're, the more
And
the more information they have ahead
we
of
will
time.
outline it in as many places as possible.
Okay.
We'll specify it on all of the appointments that are booked for concept plan fees, and then when we accept an application and deem it complete, we'll also add that there will be additional fees that come for reviews, but it will be on the application. We'll try give it out in as many places as possible. We can't make people read it, but it will be in enough places that
So true.
hopefully they might throw their eyes over it
Okay, thank
if
you.
they're signing their name.
I don't mean to belabor the point, but you brought up the idea of this concept plan meeting, which I think is kind of that evolution of trying to, I don't know if perfect's the right word, but we're trying to at least improve that process, and I
Yeah, we're trying to find out what roadblocks exist before someone
Way
spends a
before
ton on
someone-
engineering,
exactly.
and, you know, that's been the hardest part. We've had that with some applications where they give us something and there's a huge, like, project killer right on day one. And they're like, well,
Let's
no
let
one
them
told
know
me about
early,
this. It's
yeah.
like, we have these. We offer them every single Tuesday for 3 hours.
That's what I was just gonna say. How many people you're seeing increased,
We're blocked out every single Tuesday for every one of our sessions.
and they're packed? Yeah, perfect. That's what I love to hear.
Some of them are repeat offenders. But they're there because they're working on multiple projects, they're trying to figure out the ins and outs, And we also do it where if one of those, if the concept plans are free, like the time slots are free, we'll do follow-up meetings with an applicant on comments that they've received back from their plan. So we can, if they have questions on specifics, we'll meet. And that will bring planning, fire, and engineering into it, and communications as well, if needed, from George's team, just on the fiber side of things.
Cool. Super valuable.
Yeah, I like Councilman Hunter. This code rewrite, we will be bringing it forward to the council. I feel like the code just, it just evolved over how many years, 50, 60 years, things get stacked, laws change, and it's kind of hard to go through and just vet it all out, but that's what we're doing. We're dismantling it and trying to figure out as much as we possibly can to make it congruent and easier to understand, and so it doesn't conflict each other. So that'll be coming forward. We're going to be tackling a budget and a code rewrite maybe simultaneously, council. So
No biggie. Mayor, with that, I'd move to approve the resolution amending the fiscal year 2024 general fee schedule to update planning and zoning division review fees.
you have a motion by Councilmember Hunter,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Carroll. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember John,
Aye.
Councilmember Holly.
Aye.
Okay, item number 6 is review and action on approval of an escrow agreement with the Bank of Utah and Goldcrest Homes for the Beck Hillside subdivision. David, I'm going to let you just walk us through this, would you?
Yes, thank you. Mayor and Council, Goldcrest Homes is doing a subdivision called the Beck Hillside subdivision. As they approach the development process, they wanted to take advantage of section 17.9.600 in the city code, which allows for a construction in lieu of a bond. And so what that section of code allows is for a subdivider, a developer, to put all the improvements into the subdivision without bonding up front, except for the warranty portion, that 10%. So they started that process. They've got held up a little bit with the weather. And one of the key provisions, if you do construction in lieu of a bond, is you're not able to record your plat. And if you can't record your plat, you can't sell the lots. And so at this point, Goldcrest Homes has said, hey, we want to go back to a bond so that we can then record our plat. So we then went and looked at all the improvements that were already complete. We don't need them to bond for those. We only need them to bond for the items that are not complete. We have an updated list of improvements that need to be completed, and that total amount is $212,310, or excuse me, $212,310. And so I know that they've submitted an escrow agreement. It was submitted with a different number, but we will need them to update that escrow agreement to $212,310. And with that posting of that bond, then we can have the plat signed and then get it recorded, and then they can move forward in selling those lots. So the staff recommendation is that we allow Goldcrest Homes to move ahead with a bond and then record the plat.
Do we need to make reference to this amended number?
Please do. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
If you'll entertain it, Mayor, I'd move to approve the escrow agreement with Bank of Utah and Goldcrest Homes for improvements in the Beck Hillside subdivision with the amendment to the performance guarantee amount of $212,310.56.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Hunter,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Carroll. Any discussion on this motion?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question. David, what was the majority? I mean, that's a pretty huge difference. That's double. What was the majority of the differences?
Yeah, a couple
I mean,
of
I
items were the unit prices for some of the improvements that were going to be bonded for. Keep in mind, when a developer posts a bond, a performance bond, it's there in case there's a default, and in case the city then has to come back in and do those improvements. So we have to be sure that the unit prices that are being submitted in the bond really do cover the improvements. If the city were to have to take over the construction of that subdivision. So we went back through and we looked at the cost that we are paying to get these kinds of improvements completed, and there was an adjustment there. There were also a couple of items that were not identified in the original list of items to be bonded for. So there were a couple of extra items.
Thank you.
And so they're okay with that dollar amount then and everything? There's no pushback or anything?
I don't know if we've talked to them about that number.
Okay.
I just received this number before our council meeting.
Okay, no, that's fine. Just one quick question too. Did you say code 17.9.600? Because in the packet it says 17.9.200.
So 200, excuse me, 200 allows for developers to post a bond. And a lot of developers take advantage of that so that they can bond for it, start putting in the improvements, and actually start selling lots off even before the improvements are done. But that's because there's a bond in place so that we know those improvements will be completed. In 17.9.600, there's another provision that allows a developer to not post a bond, but to actually put the improvements in. And then once all the improvements are done, the city would do a final inspection for completion of all the improvements. And at that point, the city would accept those improvements and then record the plat. So there's kind of two pathways that developers can take. They can post a bond, or they can just do construction in lieu of posting a bond.
Okay. And so they went with the .600 first, and now they're trying to do the .200. And that's
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So they switched processes partway through their subdivision improvements.
I'm assuming they have people that want to buy lots now.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, and I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Holly,
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll,
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter,
Aye.
Councilmember John.
Aye.
Okay, David, you looked over your shoulder there. Are we to sign that plat? Is it right here for us to sign tonight? Okay. All right, item number 9, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move, Mayor.
I have a motion by Councilmember
Second.
Hunter, second by Councilmember Holly, and I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, council. Appreciate it.
You.